consistency is really the big thing. I've seen, and I see it day in and day out in the gym I work at, where there's some real terrible form and
Sure.
ego lifting going on. And, but they might be super consistent and they end up being super shredded and looking really good just because they're, like I said, it's like brushing their teeth. Like
Yeah.
they're in the gym every day, even if their form is awful, they're in there doing the work every single day. Now, obviously, if they hired a coach and they did it the right way, or if they had really good form, they would see those gains much quicker. But if you go in there every day and you're intentional with your diet, then you'll see those gains over time as well.
Yeah. I love that.
Craft Your Life is a radio show for the tenacious, the bold, and those who refuse to settle for mediocrity. We bring together visionaries, game changers, and relentless go-getters who are crafting their lives, businesses, and relations in pursuit of excellence. If you are ready to shatter limits, embrace the amazing, and live life on your own terms, this show is for you. Each episode delivers actionable insights, inspiring stories, and unfiltered conversations that will ignite your drive to win a life worth dying for. Tune in and get ready to live viciously. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Craft Your Life radio show. I'm your host, Matthew Kuehlhorn. Today, I am sitting down with Kyle Kelly. He is a personal trainer, both online and in person. He's a Western Slope power lifting coach, certified personal trainer, corrective exercise. Kyle is really accustomed to helping clients with nutrition, corrective exercises, injury rehab, and most of all, injury prevention. Kyle, you're my personal trainer these days here in Grand Junction, and I just am really appreciative of you jumping in.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited. A little nervous,
Awesome.
but excited.
Yeah, it's good. I'm a little nervous every time I meet up with you in the gym. So even Steven.
There you go.
Tell the listeners, where are you beaming in from?
I'm also located in Grand Junction, where Matt has his business of Cooler. So I work with Matt out of Mesa Fitness in Grand Junction. I've been doing that for like 3 to 4-ish years. I've worked both in the Clifton location and in the Junction location.
Awesome.
And then I've also done like online stuff, I don't know, for about 6 years now. So do a little bit of both still.
Love it. And did you grow up in Grand Junction? This is where you spent your childhood? Where'd you grow up?
Pretty close. I grew up about an hour from here in a little town called Newcastle.
Okay.
My parents, we grew up in the mountains, so a little rural. A lot of hard work out in the mountains, chopping firewood for every winter, stuff like that. So, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hearing, obviously, you had a physical childhood. Where did the love and passion for fitness, for lifting come into play?
I've always had a big passion for sports. 3 sport athlete in high school. Football was always my biggest thing. You could not get a football out of my hands. I was always throwing it around as a kid, even by myself. We had a tire in the backyard, and I was throwing the football through it. Played quarterback in high school. So my passion really was like sports, and then obviously weightlifting goes hand in hand with your sports, especially in high school. So that's where I was introduced to the gym. And then after high school, when I was in college, I had my first kiddo when I was pretty young and kind of fell out of the fitness stuff, but kept eating like I was still playing 3 sports at once. So I got a little out of shape, and then started going back to the gym, and kind of fell in love with the process of like losing weight initially. And I ended up losing about 50 pounds.
Amazing.
And getting super in shape, and my passion just stemmed from there, and it grew into just helping people do the same thing. So
Amazing. I didn't know that part of your journey. But that's
yeah,
significant. I mean, 50 pounds is a lot.
yeah. Um, I mean, I had some muscle after, high school and whatnot, but I really wasn't doing much with it. So the weight that I lost was not, you know, muscle. It was fat
Yeah. Yeah.
from eating like a hole for, a good 2 years or so.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 I feel like it's easy to slip into either people are just ignorant, right? Like we don't know what is truly good for us. And there's so much noise and marketing. And so we can consume stuff that is not healthy for the body. Um, or it is just easier to eat fast food or things that are quick
right.
to snacks and that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
Kind of
And that's the
interesting
real
there.
problem nowadays is like, back in the 90s and 80s or when our parents were growing up, that there was a lack of information. So there was waves where like fat was a bad thing. And nowadays it's more like the oversaturation of information with social media. And I mean, you have doctor or people that say they're doctors on social media telling you to stop eating vegetables because they're bad for you. And just a lot of nonsense out there. And
Yeah.
my standpoint is always from like very practical, and um, I like to teach my clients that like just keep it simple and not overcomplicate what works and what has stood the test of time, and that's resistance training, your dumbbells, barbells, and just eating a whole natural diet.
That's good. That's good. Where, so where did you pick up some of your knowledge? I guess, are there mentors? Do you have a coach? Did you go into training, schooling?
So I went to CSU and I graduated with a degree in health and exercise science from there.
Yeah.
Um, and really the degree and my certification, I don't think gave me the knowledge to actually like apply it to people.
Hmm.
I got that more so just from the experience of doing it. And I always tell people that, and I taught high school weights for a year. So I had a lot of students that were interested in being a personal trainer. And the biggest learning experience I had was just doing it. And I think the commercial setting is the best way to get started because you have so many different clients thrown at you at once.
Hmm.
And that's where I really feel like I've broadened what I can do and how I can train different people. And um, as I've grown with more experience, I feel like it's similar to how people are better with different diets. I think it's the same with their workout routine. Like some people are just built differently, and it's
Yeah.
um, cool just to like craft different workout routines for different people and what their goals are, and whether that's an 80-year-old who is recovering from like a stroke or a power lifter or a high school athlete.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. Because I'm not in that world. I can't even imagine the wide range of perspective.
Yeah, there's
That's pretty
there's big
significant.
variety, and it's cool, and um I like the challenge of it from that perspective where like the first time I had someone that was recovering from a stroke, I honestly had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then you have to dive into some research and look it up and figure out what's going to work for that person. And, instead of like adding weight to them with like machines or free weights, I'm actually having to help them like lift a leg and then having them control that leg on the way down on their
Mm.
eccentric. But things like that,
Mm.
just like test your
Interesting.
knowledge.
Yeah. Are there, if you notice, so wide range of clientele, and I can imagine some people are trying to gain muscle, some people are trying to cut fat, cut weight, some people are maintaining, some people are rehabbing injuries. What do you notice, if any, is a continuous thread? Like, kind of digging for the fundamentals?
I would say in the US, our processed foods are a real big problem. Whether you're trying to gain weight or you're trying to lose weight, um, I think like processed food industry is big and they know how to market really, really well.
Yes, I
And then
do.
they create foods like Cheeto Puffs that are easy to eat and they don't fill you up, so you
Hmm.
can consume a whole bag at once, you know what I mean? And they
Right.
have scientists in those companies that make those products just for that. And then there's also like in the fitness space, there's a lot of processed foods as far as like protein bars and things like that, where I'll initially get someone sat down and they think they need to consume a bunch of protein shakes and a bunch of protein bars. And my philosophy is always start with whole and natural stuff because that's what is going to actually fill you up. Like a protein bar, there's a big difference from a protein bar and a chicken breast and how much that's going to satiate you throughout the day.
Yes. What do you notice is the biggest challenge for people in making these lifestyle changes?
Changing habits. A lot of people get set in certain ways, and I know this from experience where I was out of shape for 2 years, and um, your mental games can play a big part of that too, where I've had to teach clients like you have to get some of this stuff out of your house because I know personally if there's sweets in the house or anything like that and you come home after a long hard day of work and you don't have something already made, then you go right to the cupboard type thing. So teaching them to get some of that stuff out of the house or to like have a mindset shift of when they go to that cupboard, I want you to take a second and think, would my future Matt want me to eat this, um, or would he not? You know, so it's just creating those changes in your habits, changes in your diet, where you go from like eating sour cream on your mashed potatoes or on your potato to like putting some plain Greek yogurt on there instead. So you're just reducing the calories, adding some protein type things like that. So and there's a lot that goes into changing habits and changing habits is really, really hard for people. And that's why, 1% of the population has abs.
Say that again. 1% of the population has abs.
Yep. 1% of our population has like visible abdominal muscles. So takes a lot of hard work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is hard work, and I was just talking about this earlier today, where that hard work starts with an outcome, right? Like if I have a stake in the ground of where I want to be in 10 years, 2 years, whatever distance out there, if I'm anchored in that, if I have a vision for Matt, that's the first point, right? And I think a lot of folks
Right.
don't have that. Um, I also I don't know if you hear this or not, and maybe I'm just so sensitive to it. I mean, there's a couple of things. You get me on a rant here, but I turned 48 in December, and I have been blessed with staying active throughout my entire life. I'm a very fit 48-year-old, which is cool. I hear people around me, even folks that are in their 30s, and I'm like, bro, you're such a baby, that are talking already about this mindset of being old. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting older. Oh, I'm going to slow down. I see some stats of like people over 30. There's another weird percentage of people that will never ever sprint again in their life. Like the majority
Yeah.
of people will never sprint again after they turn 30 or 35, something like that. Mind boggling.
It is. Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I think it's when you reach a certain age. For me, I think it was when I was about 25 to 28 ish. You start getting some aches and pains here and there when you're, I mean, when I'm lifting weights, obviously, I'm sure some people that aren't in the fitness space at all, they get aches and pains just from doing their everyday jobs and things like that, and so they start blaming their age. But something that I've taught a lot of people is that you have to still fight through that injury, learn how to heal from it, and then move on. Like, you still have to have all those fundamental movements in your life, like squatting. Everyone has to sit down on a toilet, you know?
Mhm.
So learning how to actually rehab and then get back to those things where you're pain free. It's possible for everyone, even if you're 80 years old. It just takes work, and it's a little bit of a learning curve as well. So doing research or seeing a trainer, things like that,
Yeah.
um, a lot of people just want to, finger point at their age instead of, put in that hard work.
I agree with that. I mean, if I'm getting really blunt, if I ever use that kind of terminology, I mean, I'm owning the fact that it's a cop out.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just easy. I'll go grab the
Yeah.
bag of Cheeto Puffs again and
Yeah. It is.
not worry about it.
Yeah. People want to stay comfortable, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's tough just to stay in shape and, have that discipline to go to the gym even on the days where you don't want to. But I always tell everyone it's like brushing your teeth. You just have to make it part of your everyday life. And I usually will tell people, like, if they go to the gym afterwards, you're going to feel amazing, even if it's on a bad day. So you have to think of your future self again. Think of how you're going to be feeling later that day after you've gone to the gym. And it doesn't have to be like you have to crush yourself every single day, but go and just move. Your body craves movement and
Mhm.
really benefits from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I mean, I could also imagine, some potential blockers are either the fear or the reality of experiencing an injury. And I think of, somebody that maybe doesn't have a resistance training program, gets into it, or, a CrossFit fad, jumps in and the ego takes over and now we've got, an injury.
Right.
Or it's like, you know, maybe I did play football in high school and I overlifted or, tore my ACL or whatnot. And that put me out. Right. But I guess where I'm going with all this is we're going to open up a conversation around, well, how do we learn where and how to lift and apply some of these tactics? And how realistic is it to fully recover and move through an injury?
So learning how to lift, I think there is a big benefit of having social media and all these other things available. And there's a lot of access to a lot of information out there. YouTube is a great resource. Podcasts are also a good place to go and just learn. Before I got into personal training, I worked at FedEx for a while. And what I did is I listened to podcasts all day long while I was delivering packages, and learned from quite a few guys in the fitness space just how to do things. Um, but you can also skip that learning curve just by hiring a coach too. And um, I mean, it's just like making an investment in your education or whatnot is what I always preach.
Yeah.
And you're going to skip those things where those setbacks where you do hurt yourself and things like that if you do hire a coach. Um, as far as like injury rehab, it all depends on, and that's my favorite thing to say, it depends, but
There's
it
some
depends on
variables.
like what your injury is and how severe it is. But most of the time when you get a little ache or pain, it's going to be like a tendonitis or tendinopathy, or it's just a muscle that's pissed off because it isn't being worked. So
Huh.
um normally it'll take 6 weeks or so for you to actually start seeing something come back from that injury process. But
Mhm.
it also takes, again, it takes time, takes consistency with putting in some mobility or just some little movements that will help correct that exercise or help correct that muscle that's really mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Cooler Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommer Garage Door Openers. In our opinion, Sommers are the highest quality product on the market today. We recommend them for all of our residential garage door installs because of the variety of features they include, such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features such as a fixed chain, which moves along a secure rail to ensure your garage door opens quietly and safely. Click on the link in the description to learn more about Sommer Garage Door Openers.
I would imagine the answer to this is going to be depends also, but if I'm listening and I'm like, okay, these guys are talking, it's getting a little bit motivating. I want to get to the gym. Is there a benefit cost, between just like going and starting to do some movements versus doing them like structurally sound? I guess I'm trying to identify, what's the real potential of injury if I'm going at it, or is there a way, let's say I love my autonomy, or maybe I don't feel like I can afford a coach right now. So maybe I'm watching some YouTube stuff, but I mean, there's a right way to lift and a wrong way to lift, but how do we mitigate any risks so we can build some momentum and get into this and kind of structure a foundation for our body if it's something new to us?
Right. And it's the new year, and I see this a lot where people want to start going 5 days a week and they want to just get in there and hammer it out,
Yeah.
I always tell everyone you don't want to throw the whole kitchen sink at your body at once. Instead, it's better to just get in there and move, and you'll be surprised the human body is very resistant and it adapts really fast to movement or any general exercise. So I especially see this in women where they're self-conscious of what other people will think. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that might be new to fitness that also think the same thing. If you go to the gym, no one cares. And honestly, if you ask the biggest, strongest guy in there for some advice, he'll happily give it to you. Usually people are very accepting to new people, especially the seasoned lifters that are at the gym. I would say just get in there and move and look up some stuff on YouTube, start light, work on your form, and just like get in there and get things moving, honestly. And I would say a good place to start would be you want 5 of those fundamental movements in your routine at some point during your workout. So some variation of like a squat. That can be a lunge, it can be holding a dumbbell, whatever. Some variation of a hinge. So you're hinging over at your hips, like if you're basically simulating if you're picking something up off of the ground. So and a lot of people hurt their backs doing this in their everyday job. So throwing those things into your workouts you'll benefit a lot from it. So a hinge, so you're simulating basically picking up a box off the ground. Some variation of like an overhead type press, so you can keep those shoulders strong for reaching up into the cabinets, or I'm sure a lot of you guys over at Cooler have to have their hand over their head a lot during the day.
Yep.
Things like that. Some variation of a row, so we're keeping your back strong. Gravity really pulls everyone forward, especially since you're sitting at a computer a lot. Most people have desk jobs, so it's fighting gravity. And then your fifth one would be like some sort of like a chest press or like a pushing movement where you're using that chest. So
Yeah.
I especially think that's practical for like seniors when they fall down, having the ability to push themselves back up and get up off the floors is a big thing.
Yeah. I love just all the practicality in that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I look at it. I mean, in my mind, I've got a couple of things running. One is I tell myself I make money every time I go to the gym.
That's true.
Like every day I go to the gym, I am making money, literally. And I've just anchored that belief. And so that becomes part of my state. That becomes a reinforcer for that habit. But it's also an opportunity to train for everything else that happens in life. If my 13-year-old, jumps on my back, I want to be ready to rock. If I need to go move the bed or, in my job, throw garage doors around or play with the dog, right? Like, I think some of my silliest injuries have just happened in everyday life.
Right. Yeah. And that's how it happens for most people. Like they bend down to tie up their shoelace and they hurt their back,
Yeah. 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 That's so real, man. I've had moments where I've quote unquote thrown out my back or sciatica nerve, just fires up.
Yeah.
Since I've got into a routine here in Grand Junction, working with you, that stuff feels so far away. Like either it's the mental resolve and just feeling strong, but there's definitely a physical component of it where that stuff's not going to occur because the strength, the fundamentals are already locked into place.
Right.
It's a big deal.
I would say also going back to like our mindset, when someone does get hurt like that, I know over the summer I hurt my back real bad. The worst I've hurt my back, and I couldn't even get off the couch. So there's a lot that goes into your mindset as far as like, I used to be a strong man, and now I'm at like this point of where I feel vulnerable, and I feel like I can't do certain things that I used to be able to do. And you have to like have this ego check where you have to like dial back what you're doing and then build from the ground up again,
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even bend over and touch my toes like I used to be able to. So there was going from just like hinging over to pick up my shoes off the floor and just making that part of my day to now I can deadlift over 400 pounds again, so, but it takes those baby steps of putting it in not only when you're at the gym, but throughout the day. Like, I tell a lot of my clients that have injuries, if you want to move like an old person, then move like an old person throughout the day. If you want to heal from an injury, especially like a back injury, then you need to hinge and you need to do it throughout your day when you're picking up stuff off the floor and make it practical throughout your day, not just when you're at the gym. But
that's really good. Yeah, one thing that comes up is, as you're talking about an injury, even as I just stated, like, I've been injury free for a minute. I'll knock on wood. I feel stronger than ever. I've had a lot of progression and intention into my body. Lifting in the gym allows me to lift safer and more intentional throughout my day. And so there's definitely a crossover there. And we all know that injury can happen. And so it's important reminder for me to understand that I have this body. I can be very intentional about it, but I don't need to fully attach my identity to it.
right.
And it's just a cool reminder. Like, I love my body. I want to take care of it. I think it looks great. I want to flaunt it, but at the end of the day, it is not everything that makes up Matt. And so if there is an injury, and then I've got a follow-up question for you in that, then it could be an opportunity to relearn some of the mechanics or move through resistance in a different form. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
For you in that scenario, or even any others, or even, in some of the clients you see, like, do injuries like your back injury, did that offer an opportunity?
Yeah, it definitely did because I've never been in that much pain before. And like I said, it took that ego shift. And of course, I'm a guy. Guys, especially, is where I see the egos come out.
Yeah, we're doers.
Yeah, especially in the gym.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a power lifter in my past, so I'm used to lifting heavy weights. And I mean, during my rehab process, I re-injured myself 2 or 3 more times just because I'm just ready to go, and I want to get back to what I was doing, and then you get that setback again, and it really makes you shift that mindset to, okay, now I got to really reset, and I got to build this back up and actually do this the right way instead of rushing it. And I especially see this in younger people who are in their 20s. They just want to rush everything, but life is long, really. Everyone, especially nowadays, thinks everything's going to happen real fast, but it's okay to take your time and reset and, you know, just be patient with things.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I mean, that's the epitome of slow is fast.
Yeah. Yep. And the consistency is really the big thing. I've seen, and I see it day in and day out in the gym I work at, where there's some real terrible form and ego lifting going on. But they might be super consistent, and they end up being super shredded and looking really good just because they're, like I said, it's like brushing their teeth. Like,
Yeah.
they're in the gym every day, even if their form is awful, they're in there doing the work every single day. Now, obviously, if they hired a coach and they did it the right way, or if they had really good form, they would see those gains much quicker. But if you go in there every day and you're intentional with your diet, then you'll see those gains over time as well.
Yeah. 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 I love that. For those that have never worked with a coach, Kyle, what is what might that look like? So, let's say a listener is inspired, whether they're in GJ or another town, they go seek out yourself or another trainer. From your perspective, what are some things that individual might want to consider? Like, how do we find a trainer that we pair up well with? And then what might some of the first few sessions, first month look like?
So, I always tell people that trainers are much like any other profession. Like, you're going to have really good ones, and you're going to have some they just want to sell you something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I pride myself on creating programs based on the individual, and I take the time, even though I'm not making a ton of money off of someone at the gym, I take the time on Sundays to program every single workout for each person individually. So that would be the first thing I would seek out, is whether that person is building you a program just for you and off of your goals, or if they're just giving you some cookie cutter type of program and expecting you to follow that. Because like we said, some people are dealing with injuries, or they need to do certain things to get that full range of motion back, as far as like picking their hand up over their head all the way type of stuff. So that would be the first and foremost type thing. Obviously, some people just don't match very well as far as like their personalities, and some people like to be pushed really hard. And I have a couple of guys I've worked with that were former like Marines, and they want to punish people. And, some people really like that. I'm not like that. I always come at it from a perspective of, I'm not going to shame someone, because I know when you shame someone, then they get down on themselves and they go back to some of those bad habits that we're trying to avoid. So
Yeah. Yeah.
instead, I try to create those healthy mindset shifts of, think of how you feel if you eat really good as compared to, like, if you ate a pizza, then you'd feel like crap, um, trying to create those little mindset shifts. So like I said, personalities kind of have to match up a little bit too. For the first couple of months, I think it's like a relationship. So I think having an open line of communication with your coach is a big deal. If you're not receiving any feedback from your coach, then maybe you need to find someone else. But it's also a relationship as far as, like, you have to communicate whether something is bugging you and they need to swap out a certain exercise. It's also a feeling out process, because it takes time for me to realize, like, what's going to work for you and some of your goals. Some people have a hard time doing just a pull up, and some people have a hard time, like I said, picking your hand up over your head, and I have to do certain assessments to feel out certain things. That's one big thing. If you do seek out someone that's, like, in person, they should give you some sort of assessment as far as, like, your movement. If they're not doing that, then I might look elsewhere. That's a real big thing for me. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
big.
want to be able to see how someone moves, so that I'm not throwing exercises at them that they can't even do, or that hurts them in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hearing, all that, to sum it up again for the listener, is find somebody that you connect with just on a relationship level. Like, you're
Right.
going to spend some time. It's not like crazy intimate, but it's a little intimate. You're going to put yourself
Yeah.
out there lifting hard, maybe just doing some awkward moves right in front of an individual. So there's got to be that comfort, the trust relationship. Then we want to find somebody, if they're a true pro, they're going to put together a customized plan.
Yeah.
And they're going to develop that plan through communicating on your goals, where you want to go, and through doing some very intentional assessments to see where you're at.
Yep. I think those few things are big.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I will say, share this with the listeners. I've can't even remember how long I've worked together. At least 4 months, I think, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been a real treat. I don't know if all your clients are like this. Like, I'm probably not the best client as far as following the program every day and what you have in, but I am consistent, and I will take, the essences and a lot of the moves. Actually, I just don't give you the real transparency in what I'm actually doing, which I
Yeah.
understand is, for if I were to put myself in your shoes, I'm like, oh man, I'd love to have a little bit more detail. But at any rate, just the value from my perspective, is the accountability. It's the relationship,
Yeah.
right? It's the intentionality. I mean, you are showing me new moves that I then incorporate. We target different muscles, and on a nuts and bolts. For the listener, this is just my journey. But in June, I did a boxing match, and I weighed in for that match at 158 pounds. Now I'm weighing in at 175 pounds, and that's all muscle. In fact, my body fat has diminished a bit.
Yep.
So it's super healthy gains. I don't really think everybody experiences that out of the gate, but the the value there again is having some structure, having some accountability, having the knowledge of what to lift and how to lift. So anybody that's listening and is on the fence, I mean, there's a ton of value, and if you're local, Kyle's awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and I and I've bragged about you to a few of my clients, honestly. Um, I like when I get a client like yourself, because as a trainer, you get what are your star clients, and you get some people that just come and see you because they know they're going to get a workout, and it's that accountability type thing where they're not going to do it by themselves, and they have to have someone hold them accountable each and every week. And then you also have your star clients that you tell them something to do and they just do it. And you're super consistent with that stuff. And obviously you're seeing some of the benefits of that and it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, 5-6 months is pretty fast to add, 20 pounds or so of muscle. So
Totally. Yeah. No, it's super real. And, back on, for folks that may have a practice, maybe you're just thinking about it. I mean, the patience piece is like, commit to daily for 3+ months. And
Yep.
in that amount of time, I would imagine there's going to be some very physical results, but
Yep.
it's not going to happen in 4 weeks.
Yep. And I would say, for some of your listeners that are probably entrepreneurs and they're hardworking individuals and they have busy schedules, like I said, you don't have to throw the whole kitchen sink at your body,
Yeah.
and honestly, you're only at the gym, an hour and a half, and that could be only 3 days a week. The key is to still have some form of activity throughout the day. So, I mean, I have clients that literally get 1,000 steps in a day because they sit at a computer all day, every day. And so, like I said, creating those little habit changes. And one thing I like to give someone is where we try to do some habit stacking, where you're going to stack a healthy habit along with something you're already doing. Like, say I have a desk job and I know I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so I'm going to pair a 10-minute walk with those 3 meals afterwards. And that has a lot of positive benefits as far as like your digestion, hormone production, insulin sensitivity, all kinds of different stuff. And it's only a 10-minute walk. So but like I said, it's changing your habits, and that's the hard thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll anchor that because that is so good. I mean, it doesn't have to be like get off the desk chair, go deadlift 400 pounds. It could literally be just go for a walk.
Exactly.
Take your spouse, take your kid, take your dog, go for a walk.
Something I'd like to tell a lot of people is we all have that person in our life that might have like ADHD, or they just cannot stop moving. Like even when they're sitting on the couch, they're tapping their foot.
Uh-huh.
That adds up as calories over the day.
Yeah.
And usually those people are super skinny and they're ripped and they have some muscle definition. It's just because they're moving all the time. So like I said, throw in movement and you will see some positive benefits from it.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Kyle, where can people reach out to you, follow, learn from you?
You can find me on social media at Kyle Kelly Fit, through Facebook, Instagram. I have a YouTube. I don't post too much. I have a TikTok. So you can find me on all those platforms. As far as like training at the gym, I'm located in Grand Junction, Colorado, at Mesa Fitness, Grand Junction. If you're local, come out and see me. If you are interested in online, and then you can just reach through my socials, message me, and we'll get things going from there.
Amazing, man. I really appreciate you showing up today, giving a lot of value. Super healthy conversation, pun intended. And thank you for your training. I will be seeing you in the gym next week.
Sounds good, buddy. Thank you for having me on. It was an honor.
You got it.
I can't believe I'm saying this. We have over 2,400 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we're just growing. It is amazing. And your likes, your subscribes, and your shares have helped us get here. So let's grow this thing together and just know that you are appreciated.